Hey everybody. So today I received an email from someone who was sending on some information about the Lloyd Evans channel. Apparently Lloyd has put out a new video for his patrons and they wanted me to see it because it was relevant to the court cases currently going on, alleged court cases currently going on. Before I get into the video, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. So for those of you who want to leave comments relating to the following items, please don't bother because they're really boring. No, I don't hate Lloyd. No, I don't have a vendetta, ulterior motive, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm not jealous or any of that kind of rubbish. I don't have any will to, go, well, you've gotten to a certain size, so now you need to be deleted. No, I'm not continuing to bring things up. That's Lloyd's job. I don't need to keep bringing up anything, and frankly, neither does anybody else. Lloyd's doing a very good job of that on his own. No, I'm not obsessed with Lloyd. I'm obsessed with the truth and people telling the truth and speaking honestly and openly, and particularly people continuing, or a person, I correct, continuing to tell people that I have told mistruth, that I've lied, that whatever I've done, I'm really over it. So, no, I'm not obsessed. And I'm not going to be stopped talking about Lloyd while ever Lloyd continues to talk nonsense about me and everybody else. So now that we've got that housekeeping out of the way, please don't bother leaving messages. If you've got that attitude and you want, just save yourself the time, because I'm not going to delete it. I'm not going to hide them. I just am not going to read them, respond, or care. So let's see what Lloyd has to say.
This is supposed to be the end of March update video. We are, of course, coming towards the end of April. I've left it late again. This month's update video will be much, much shorter, or at least I intend it to be much, much shorter, because obviously, it goes without saying, the channel is under incredible strain at the moment. Things are, I feel, improving. I feel as though I like to think the worst is behind me, at least in terms of...
So I don't know if you guys have seen there's a bit of an audio video delay. Don't know what that's about. This is my first time doing it like this. I'm just, again, experimenting with video techniques. So don't know how to fix it. Sorry.
Personal pressure and stress from the defamation campaign. But
so what defamation campaign? Honestly, what campaign is there going again with Lloyd? Lloyd continues to open his mouth to change feet, and he continues to talk about it, to rearrange the truth, to adjust his original story, his original experience, his original narrative of what actually happened. He is the one that continues to do this, and people are continuing to call him out. I find it very disingenuous that he wants to call it a campaign, but, he's entitled to his opinion just as I am.
The truth is, it was always going to be challenging to switch the channel back on again and to just make all of the content that I would normally make when you have, so much noise in the background.
Noise. That's yes, Lloyd, that is funny. So the latest noise, just so for anybody that doesn't know, the latest noise has come because Lloyd and Andrew Gold had a conversation about online bullying that Lloyd was allegedly receiving, and he asked Andrew to do the interview with him. So I'm not really sure, at what point that this noise became a problem for him producing content, because he did a very good job producing content with Andrew Gold. Just some food for thought there.
So what I wanted to do in this month's update video, rather than give you all of the stats which I would normally give you, And the stats aren't bad, by the way. I mean, there's still lots of views.
I'd love to know what percentage of those views are hate watchers. Just saying.
Lots of very positive comments coming through as well, I must add, which really helps motivate me. It's lovely to see so much support and so much love and kindness and compassion coming through in the YouTube comments. And it helps me to continue. But again, we can't just flick a switch and the channel just boots up again and we're making the same frequency and intensity and range of content that we were making before. So this video is more than anything to just tell you that for the next 2 or 3 weeks, expect mostly sushis and voicemails, as well as obviously the full rebuttals whenever there is a JW broadcasting. It's just,
for anyone that doesn't know, Lloyd actually films most of his videos, not all, but most of his videos over one weekend every month. He films all of the rebuttals, the annual general meeting rebuttals, etc., etc. Those longer videos, convention videos. He actually films them in sushis, and then Tibor puts them all together, and they put out the big video. Then after the videos come out, then the sushis are released. Every whatever periodically after that, and I would assume that the voicemails are done in the same way. Up until I left the team, I was going through reviewing all of the voicemails, putting forward a recommendation of up to 20, which I never was like 12 or 14. Lloyd would go through, pick out the ones he wanted, record the videos, and then they would schedule them to go out throughout the month. So basically what he's saying is for the next 2 to 3 weeks, he's not going to be doing any actual work on the channel unless it's, there's an end of month rebuttal, which he may or may not do, or something pops up. But at the moment, what he's saying is by doing the sushis that he's already done his work for the month.
There's a lot to focus on behind the scenes. You all know that I am taking legal action in response to the defamation. As I've said before, it's not something that...
All right, guys, so let's talk about this defamation rubbish for a second and really go there. So the original letter, as you can see here, can't move this stupid bloody box, but anyway, I don't know. You'll just say the first letter from Lloyd solicitor came on the 7th of March 2020. He wrote me a letter, gave me 10 days, blah, 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 blah. I then sent through, and I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Let's see if I can put it maybe. I don't know how to move this stupid box. If anyone knows how to move this box, anyway, let me just tell you what it says. It's 11th of March. You've all seen my response letter. Wrote back, give him all that, etc., 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 etc. So that was the 11th of March. From the 7th, we went to the 11th. I then emailed his solicitor again. I don't know how. Oh, look at that. Don't need to move the box. You move the page. Anyway, so I'll just go back quickly. So we can see here, original letter, blah, 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 to me was on the 7th of March. Then we went, I think I'm so unreal, by the way. I wrote my response letter. Everyone's read it. If you haven't, go find it. 11th of March. I then wrote his solicitor a letter, an email. I sent it to Carlo, copied Luca in. References made, blah, blah, blah. 7th of March, 10-day grace period has passed, and I've made representations. I hereby seek further information from you in respect to the matter and your client's intentions regarding this matter and whether they will proceed, blah, blah, blah. Probably used the term matter too much in that email, but anyway. Then I sent another email on the Tuesday, the 22nd of March, referring to my email dated 19 March, and said, seeking further information in relation to the above referenced matter, seek your response as a matter of urgency. And the reason there's an urgency is because if Lloyd wanted to continue on with that matter, I obviously would like to do some preparation work. And for those who don't aren't going to represent themselves. They may wish to seek solicitors advice, and I'm not going to waste my time if he's not going to proceed. But if he is, I want to know, so hence the urgency. Let me know. Don't be an asshole. Oh dear, do I want to close all tabs? Okay, let's try that. All right. So, he's talking about taking legal action. This has been going on since the 7th of March, people. Like this, it's now the date of filming. This is in Australian time. It's 27th of April, which I think is a Wednesday. Hopefully. Yeah, Monday was, yeah. So the 27th of April, Wednesday, we're talking nearly 2 months ago that we received the original letters and no response. So it's a case of what the hell? You're talking to your patrons about taking legal action, and being one of the people that you're allegedly taking legal action against, I'm like, well, what have you been doing for the last 2 months? Or 7 weeks, shall we say? I don't know. Anyway.
I am doing lightly. It's obviously any kind of legal issue, any kind of legal proceedings are always intensely stressful. Whether you are the plaintiff or the defendant, it's a stressful thing to go through. But I feel it
stressful to go through. Okay, so I'm not stressed. I don't have a reason to be stressed, and I don't actually believe that anybody else has a reason to be stressed. But not everybody has a law degree. Not everybody has a solicitor or an attorney advising them in respect to these matters. And there are people who have had letters from Lloyd who are the defendants in this case. And so by Lloyd's own words, it's extremely stressful. Intensely stressful was the term that I believe he used. And so people have tried to call. I have tried to call twice before I wrote my response letter, which I received no response to. People have tried to call. I did speak to whatever his name is, Novacell, the boss. He put me through to Luca in the office. He didn't want to talk to me. He ended up hanging up on me, in fact, when I pressed the matter with him because I wanted to speak with him. As he was the one that wrote the letter. Well, he's the one that his name was on the bottom of the letter. I don't know if he wrote it, but his name was on the bottom of the letter. And he's also the licensed solicitor within his office, and he's also the owner. Luca is a trainee, if my translation is correct, of Croatian, which I use Google Translate. So, and he didn't want to talk to me about it. He acted like he didn't know what I was talking about. I knew the case, but he didn't know the facts. I don't know. Didn't want to talk to me, hung up on me. I know other people have tried to call. So I think that's pretty stressful. I, again, am not stressed because I don't care because I've done nothing wrong. And I don't believe anybody else has either. However, it doesn't change the fact that they become the defendants. And by Lloyd's own words, they are stressed. So thank you, Lloyd, for acknowledging that other people are stressed. Certainly a very kind thing of you to acknowledge without acknowledging, because you've done nothing but make the threats, make the complaints, tell everybody what you're going to do, but actually your solicitors aren't doing anything and they're not responding and they've not proceeded any further. These people are just sitting around for the last 2 months, 7 weeks, twiddling their thumbs, waiting to see what happens. Kind.
It's very, very important to do this. And I understand that it's asking a lot of you patrons in a way, because you are supporting not just the video content, but you're supporting the channel and the litigation, and that's a big ask.
I agree, it is a big ask, considering that you're the one that commenced the proceedings. You're the one that are lying to your patrons and have continued to lie to your patrons in respect of what happened, and the reasoning for it. You continue to rewrite the narrative. You confirmed everything I said, and everything I said has then continued to be spoken about by other people because you told the truth. So stop telling your patrons that you are the victim, that you have been defamed, that there's a defamation campaign. Tell tell them the truth. Don't just tell them that legal proceedings, tell them where it's up to. Tell them exactly what happened. You sent letters out, you told all your patrons that you did that. The people receiving those letters have responded, and your solicitors have done 0 in 7 weeks. So tell your patrons that, be honest.
I understand that. But here's why, in a nutshell, I think this is really, really important to do. I feel as though I made the mistake in 2017 of not responding legally to false information that was circulated back in 2017. And what's happened now in 2022 is that the same people from 2017 have come back out from the shadows and started hurling the exact same slander. In addition to wrong information, new wrong information that's being circulated by other individuals.
Okay, so I presume that I fall into the other individuals category because I was still a Jehovah's Witness in 2017. I think it's just disingenuous for him to be speaking in very broad, generalized terms. These people, and then there's new information. Most people that are watching this and patrons probably don't know what he's alleging. I don't know what he's talking about, what happened in 2017. I really don't have a clue. So, identify who it is that said it, what was said, who these people are, which of the 12 these people are, and then talk about, this new defamation information and talk about who the new people are, because that's clearly me. I can't be the 2017 people because I was, as I said, still in the blog at that time. Couldn't be me. New wrong information, I'll fall into that category. Tell your patrons what I have done, what I have said, what falsities I've brought against you and misclaims. Tell me, tell your patrons, tell me. Get your solicitor to write me a letter with specific information. I've responded as best I knew, providing evidence that I haven't defamed you in any way, shape or form. Get your solicitor, or you, send me an email. You know my email address. Send me send me information. Get your solicitor, send me information. Tell me what I have said about you that is not true, or whatever the other words are that you use, because you're not being genuine. You're using, this whole big case, and it's almost persecution porn, Lloyd. Almost. I'm going to go there and say it, and I'm using that term because that's your term to describe how the organisation behave when they believe that they are being persecuted, and they use it to distract from the reality that they've done something wrong, and they want to then use it as persecution. And so I'm going to say the same thing to you. You continually use Borg speak, to talk to your patrons. You use Borg mentality. You're talking to them about being persecuted and that you're under attack and it's just they're rallying to support you. But my question to you is, what specifically? Get to the point, Lloyd. You're all about the detail and nitpicking the governing body helpers, anybody else that will, speak out on JW Broadcasting, all the other rubbish the propaganda that they put out. And let me just say, it's rubbish. Their propaganda is rubbish. And I agree with your points. They are absolute disgraces. But your behaviour in this instance, by saying that generally speaking, what happened in 2017, because everyone should just know, and what happened here and who did what and who said this and all this is just defamation. It's persecution porn. Lloyd, you're loving it, and you need to get real and be honest with your patrons.
And so basically, I'm paying a price now to some extent for failing to take action in 2017 when, in fairness, 2017. The channel was much smaller and I wasn't in a position to be hiring lawyers and that kind of thing. My point is, activists should be able, in my opinion, to grow to a certain size in their work.
They should.
And even do their work professionally. So in other words, not be expected to do it out of the kindness of their hearts, without being subjected to a barrage of misinformation about them and their personal lives.
Okay, so you're saying, Lloyd, that, you're a professional activist. Fine, that's not a problem. And, that you should be allowed to do that, and you should have safety, and, you should be able to practice your practice your professionalism in freedom, which is exactly what the organisations say about their religion, just for the record. And I agree with you. You should be able to, act in a professional manner in your chosen profession within the scope of the law. So, you have the same legal protection as every other individual. It has zero to do with the size of your channel. It has zero to do with anything that you've just rubbished on about. The fact of the matter is you continue to state that you're a professional activist. One of those aspects is in relation to child sexual abuse, protection of vulnerable people. All of those things you continue to bang on about and say that you are a professional activist for. You're not getting the true intention. You're not being attacked. You were whistleblown. We'll talk about that in a little while, but someone has come out and said, being me, that your behaviour as a professional activist is questionable, and that there is a public disclosure interest, not an interest to the public. Nobody just talked about your private life for no sake of it. There was a reason. There is a direct conflict of interest between the way you behaved when you were utilising the facilities of sex workers who are, I don't care whether you want to say, well, they're over the age of 20 and they're this. You're missing the point, Lloyd. The point is that those women who may well be over the age of 20 now, or over the legal age of consent in whatever country you say you were in, Croatia and others, by your words. So that's fine. But were they child sexual assault victims? Were they trafficked? Are they genuinely in a position where they're giving consent? Or are they subject to slavery, threats of violence to themselves, to their families? Because that stuff happens, Lloyd. That happens to CSA victims. That happens to vulnerable women and young children and boys. And it's a real thing. And the fact that you cannot or will not, I don't know what the answer is, but whether you won't or can't acknowledge the fact that you are an activist for child sexual assault victims, you are an activist for vulnerable people, and yet you continue to defend your position by simply making the statement that they were over the age of 20. I don't care. Did they just become sex workers at the age of 18, or what happened to them before that? That industry is known for trafficking, for slavery, which in some countries is called salivation. It's a crime. It is known for that. And there are statistics that show that it's not a 1% effort. It is a majority percent. It depends on the country. I'm not going to get into stats. But for God's sake, go and have a look and try and understand what it is that I am saying and that everyone else is saying. So to say that you're a professional activist is fine, but this has nothing to do with the fact that you have X amount of subscribers, or that you have X amount of patrons, or that you have X amount of video views, or anything like that. This is about the fact that you are a professional activist and your behaviour is hypocritical to the work that you are doing, and you were called out. That is called whistleblowing. We'll get onto that a bit later.
The point where there are dozens and dozens of videos about them on YouTube saying things that are just wrong about deeply personal aspects of their lives. It shouldn't be a case of someone getting into activism in the future, let's say after I'm gone, knowing that if they reach a certain size, if their audience grows to a certain point, the knives will be out and people will just start blasting them with lies about who they are as a person, about their motives, about their private lives, you name it.
Not what happened.
And I feel as though I owe it in a way to future activists to say, no, you don't get to do that. There will be consequences.
And this is the thing, he's acting as if he's doing everybody a service by going ahead and he's protecting future activists. If a future activist behaved the way that Lloyd behaved and had the same, I'm an activist, they're identical, I'm an activist for CSA victims, vulnerable people, all of those sorts of things, then by all means, if they behave that way and they are found out, then someone should call them out for it. But you simply because you become an activist and you get to a certain size and you're talking about the Jehovah's Witness organization does not automatically grant you the fact that you are going to be, called out and bullied and defamed as the way Lloyd says it. It's fear-mongering. It's bullshit. I'm going to say it as it is. That's just not true. And if you go back and have a think about it, this is something he did. He's an activist. He's talking about this. I'm doing it. It's just rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Because right now, I think a lot of the people who are posting defamatory content are just assuming that they can just get away with it. No, hey, it's YouTube. I'm producing entertaining content. Who cares whether it's true or not? It does actually matter whether it's true. When it's about a person, a real person with a real family and real mental health issues. So,
and you are a real person, Lloyd. I get that. But what about, the thought for the real people in your house? Were you considering them? To Thailand and to and all of the other activities you've been involved with? Did you think about them? So don't sit there and act like you're the victim, because you're not.
I feel that it's important to draw a line in the sand and say, no, we need to make sure that we are factual. It's okay to be a whistleblower. It's okay to call people out when they make mistakes.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
But when you do call people out, when you do criticize someone, especially their private life, you need to be factual. You need to make sure that everything that you say is true.
Excellent. So, in my opinion, you're telling everyone it's okay to be a whistleblower. All right, then. And you're telling everyone that all individuals have said things that aren't true and that we all need to be factual and speak the truth. I'm asking you, I've asked your solicitors, I'm asking you again, what have I said that's not true? Your personal life is a straw man argument. I'm sorry, it just is. This is about your activism work. I have said it so many times, and you are being disingenuous to your patrons, because this is not just about your personal life. You brought it onto YouTube. You're the one that's been talking about it. You're the one that keeps continuing to talk about it. You're the one that went on to a non-XJW YouTube channel promoting your brand of bullshit to him. And yet you're the one that's saying that I'm not being truthful. Well, this is like pot meat kettle. Honestly, if I'm not telling the truth, then we can have a pot meat kettle session. You were offered the opportunity to come on the YouTube and tell everybody what I said that's bullshit. You had the opportunity. You didn't take it. That says volumes to me, because I can tell you now, if someone had done what you allege that I have done, I would have been on that YouTube flat out. Hence why I'm here today talking to you, Lloyd, and anybody else who wants to watch it, about why I'm angry with you. You continue to lie to your patrons. You continue to tell non-truths about me. I haven't, and you continue to not respond to me, who you are telling your patrons that you are taking time away for the next 2 to 3 weeks because you need to focus on, this legal proceeding. And yet for 7 weeks, nobody's heard jack shit from your solicitors or from you, and they're not responding. So, I'm going to keep talking. I'm angry with you. I am angry, not because of anything else other than the fact that you continue to lie to the community and you continue to lie to your patrons because you aren't getting things the way you want them to go.
And all of the individuals that I'm currently litigating against have said things that are not true. And I don't think that's acceptable.
Well,
I think that if I were to do nothing, because I can understand people saying, oh, we don't want XJWs suing XJWs. Let's just cut each other some slack because we've all been through a cult. Well, the problem with doing that, number one, it kind of subscribes to the agape kind of cult mindset of you should never take your brother to court.
Okay, so we're gonna break this down. Point one, it feeds into the agape, so we're going to relate it to the cult. So this is a tactic that he uses all the time because nobody can be with the organization. Everyone's against the organization. Everybody's against the cult. So whatever he says that pitches himself in direct opposition to the cult, everyone then goes, yes, I agree with you, Lloyd. So he's now saying, I have to take legal action because if I don't, it's like agape love, which is what the organization stands for. So therefore everyone goes, no, you must go because we don't want to have agape love because that's the organization. So he's immediately pitching people against the organization, so they therefore support his idea. It's bullshit. He will call everybody and anybody out the minute they refer to his behavior as disfellowshipping someone for, cutting them off on Twitter or whatever he does. I don't care. He will grate against it and make himself the victim when someone uses a theocratic term to explain his behavior. And yet when the suit comes and he needs that, he's got no shame in doing exactly what he criticizes other people for. And I just think it's a disgrace. Forget about your agape love. Forget about that. If you want to sue XJWs, go ahead and do it.
And number two is it sets a precedent where, again, future activists who get to a certain size, well, why would you get involved?
Well, why would you get involved? Great question. Because you believe in the bullshit being exposed. The organisation is damaging. It causes people to do all sorts of things, be shunned by their families, refuse blood transfusions, die, lose loved ones through, taking their life. It creates mental health issues that are lifelong. It creates divisions between siblings and school friends and workmates. It restricts people's ability to earn a decent wage so they can provide for their families. There's a million different reasons why people would get involved with activism. And what you're doing, Lloyd, is fear-mongering. You are making people think, and by your language saying, I am a victim. Look what's happened to me. And therefore I have to be the hero and put through this, I have to fight back from this attack so that that future people are not attacked. I've talked about this in this video. People are not attacking you. They're calling you out for bullshit. There are plenty of other people who are doing really well in the activist world. They're doing their videos. They're putting their efforts in. They're exposing whatever it is that they want to expose. They're talking about it. And, and yet nobody's attacking them. You are the common denominator in so many things that I have seen, on the JWN, on the whatever you used to call it back at the Jehovah's Witness.net forum. You know what I'm talking about. So many times. Why is it consistently you that's being called out? It's because of your behavior. It's because of the way you bully people. I could not believe when I saw that you were doing an interview with Andrew Gold about bullying. That just was like, wow, that's cool. Well done. Hats off to you. But, come on, enough is enough. You are not the victim. You cannot sit there and say to people, I have to do this to protect future activists, because why would they want to get involved? They would want to get involved because of the way the organisation has treated people, continues to treat people, and hopefully as many people will leave from the organisation. 100 average men will always do better work than one man. And that one man does very good work, but he also does a lot of bad shit. And it's disingenuous of you to continue to fearmonger your patrons into believing that there won't be other activists. It's bullshit.
Quite frankly, in YouTube activism and in growing your channel, knowing
That's just
that this can happen to you.
You're fearmongering.
If it can happen to me, if people can just say whatever they like and say whatever untrue things, just pop.
If it can happen to you, I've already talked about this, but yes, if someone behaved the way you have behaved and been as hypocritical as you have, and the lack of willingness or ability to comprehend that there is a massive problem here, then yes, it probably would happen to them as well. But it's got nothing to do with the size of your channel. It's got nothing to do with how many this or that or videos or watches or views or whatever bullshit YouTube talks about. It's got nothing to do with that. It's 100% about your behavior. And if someone else behaves like you, then by all means. I'll tell you something else that really bothered me, nothing to do with this video, but I saw a tweet going around where someone has likened the experience that you have been through to misconduct of a sexual nature. It's a 4-letter word. And you fed into that and acknowledged the experience and how much of a victim you are. That to me was just like, really, Lloyd? Seriously? You cannot advocate for people who are sexual assault victims. If you liken or would agree with the likening of this behaviour being the same as people who are subject to sexual assault, that's absolutely irresponsible.
Into their heads to the point of producing and disseminating faked emails. If they can do that to me, they can do that to anyone.
It matters with the police.
And the entire future of XJW activism is compromised, has an Achilles heel.
No, they don't.
And that Achilles heel is the cannibalistic nature of the XJW movement.
Cannibalistic nature? I don't think so. No. You've been called out, you refuse, you're continuing to use your platform to try and bully people into seeing it your way rather than looking at it from how it is. That is, you are cannibalizing, not everybody else. Nobody else is attacking anybody else. It's always you that's being attacked for your shit behavior and bullying people within the community. And it has to stop. It needs to stop. You need to acknowledge that a genuine acknowledgement that there is a distinction between what is happening now, you being called out, how you have behaved and what you have done to your family, how hypocritical you have been in terms of advocating for victims of sexual assault and yet utilising services within the sex industry. Until you are prepared to acknowledge that genuinely and accept, then people are going to continue to call you out. So it's not a cannibalisation. It's a fact-finding and commitment to truth issue. So you say whatever you want, but that's the facts.
And the fact that due to resentment and due to various other issues, XJWs will attack other XJWs. But it can't just be a case of people just doing and saying whatever they like about real people.
People are saying it.
There needs to be a commitment to saying things that are truthful.
Make allegations.
And so that's what the lawsuit is about. Again, it's very...
Again, that's what the lawsuit is about. Well, here's what it's about for me. You sent a letter on the 7th of March. I responded the 11th of March. I sent emails in April. It is now the 27th of April and I've heard nothing from nobody in respect of anything. So don't sit there and generalize and overarch to your patrons about what's, that's what's going on. You have said nothing about what is going on with your legal proceedings. This is what the whole video is about, is an update to people about what's going on. So what's going on? You're telling people that the reason for it, you're being bullied. Well, we already knew that people have lied about you. Well, we already knew that. That people have said things since 2017 about you. Don't know anything about that. And that you're a professional activist, and that people haven't got the right to do it. You're fear-mongered. Nobody's going to want to do it. I'm going to have to be the hero and take the heat and get this sorted out for future generations. So that activism against the Jehovah's Witness organisation, pitching yourself directly against the organisation where everybody's going to land, because nobody wants to be seen to be standing with the organisation, even if it means that they have to blindly believe your bullshit. So what else? I've not told truths. Nobody else has told truths. People can't do that. That you are still going to continue because you don't want to have agape love. Now you're taking time out from doing your activism work, which patrons are paying you to do, because you're now collecting evidence. My God, man. If you are going to commence proceedings against someone and send out letters and then continue to, I'm taking legal action and I'm going to give you a legal update video, surely you would have done your due diligence by now, and that you would have had the evidence before you commenced. You would have had the evidence to your solicitor so that he could give you advice based on whether or not he thinks you have a sufficient case to answer, for people to answer to. And that he would have been able to provide examples to us of things that we have said against you that are wrong. Surely that those things would have already been done. But now you're having to take time out to put evidence together. But really, if you in your cease and desist, your warning letter, you really should have given examples. For it to be a valid warning letter, cease and desist, one would have, it is a requirement under Australian law, and I would assume many other countries, that you would be able to give examples of things that someone has done or defamed you by saying or doing. And yet my letter had nothing. I've provided everything that I have in respect of defending and showing your solicitor that I haven't defamed you, and yet you still continue not to be able to come up with an example of something that I have done. But you continue to include me and everybody else in your bullshit to your patrons by saying, this is where the legal proceedings are up to. Patrons, if you are watching this video, or someone who's a patron, just to quote Lloyd, although most won't get that. But anyway, if you are a patron, go back and find out what new information you have received from Lloyd Evans, from his patron update about the legal proceedings. New. So you already knew everything that we've talked about today. You already knew all that stuff. He's just continuing to play the violin and be the victim. But what new information have you got? An update infers further information. I have no information. What do you know?
Draining. It's time consuming. It's upsetting for me to have to go through so much material that's saying such terrible, terrible, untrue things about me to put the evidence together. But I can't do that and do everything that I was doing with the channel. Something has to give. And I'm just basically making you patrons aware of that. And at the same time,
so it's not an update video. I think we've just clarified that. It's not an update video about the legal proceedings. It's here's why I'm not delivering on my promise to you to provide content, because I am so distracted, busy collecting evidence in this defamation case that hasn't had any action from his solicitors since the 7th of March. And now he's collecting information, but he has to tell his patrons that, this is why I'm not delivering content. I'm going to call it and say, that's bullshit. I don't know exactly what you're up to, but I'm calling bullshit on this fact, because I cannot understand how it is reasonable for your patrons to assume that you are busy and unable to produce content because you are so busy with this legal proceeding. No one's responded to letters, no one's responded to phone calls. You're now saying that you're collecting evidence in this case. So what the hell were those letters issued on? You didn't even know. You've asked everybody that received that letter to take down their defamatory information and videos and content and provide an apology. You didn't even know, by your own words, I'm collecting evidence. You're putting the evidence together. You don't even know what you wanted removed, and you didn't know, and still probably don't know, what you wanted people to apologise for. Is it me, or are you so full of shit your eyes are brown? I don't know if you're delusional and believe that this is legal proceedings and that, that your patrons should continue to support you because you're in the middle of a legal proceeding. But honestly, you've not given me any evidence of what I've said or done. You've not given me any indication as to where your position is through your solicitors. Your solicitors haven't responded to my very well put together and thorough document explaining my position. But you have, by your own words, included me as new misinformation, and every single person that received the letter has spread matters that are untrue and said words that are untrue. So you cannot say, I'm not talking about you, because I know you've said that before, that simply because you're speaking generally, you haven't named names. Well, you have. You really have, because A, I'm one of the 12. B, I'm one of the new people. C, I couldn't have been one of the ones that you alleged did something in 2017. No idea what you're talking about, because I was still in the organisation. And D, everybody in the 12 has, by your words, said and done something wrong. So I am in those people. I don't get it. You aren't responding. So what are you talking to your patients about? I've got no idea.
Thank you for being behind me at this incredibly difficult and challenging time. It really does mean a lot. Hopefully in next month's update video, normal service will be resumed, and I'll be talking about far more positive things. I really do want to get back to making a broader spectrum of videos. I'm very passionate about the Medo-Persia videos that you've chosen and making sure they get done and that I do them well. I don't want to just put anything out there just because it sort of ticks a box. I want to do the material justice.
Just so you all know, I got to say, the Medo-Persia backlog has been going on for 18 plus months. It has nothing to do with this court proceeding. This was like 18 months behind when I was still running the team. So just letting you know.
There are a couple of other projects that I have in mind that aren't Medo-Persia voted. And I'm again hoping that I'll be able to do those soon. But at least for the next couple of weeks, don't be surprised if what you're seeing is mostly just sushi and voicemails. There's stuff happening behind the scenes, and I'm sure you all understand. That said, I do need to do the Rome level draw.
I hate the bubble draw thing. So we'll just see if we can get out of there and go back up here. Where are we going? Oh, we're going to have to stay here. So to finalize my feelings on this, I am very angry. I'm very passionate because I did what I did in the first place to provide information so that people could make an informed decision. And yet again, Lloyd is continuing to talk shit, continuing to lie to his patrons, continuing to be disingenuous, continuing to play the victim to the XJW community, continuing to create division, continuing to instill fear and worry and concern, and him needing to be the hero of the XJW community, because if he doesn't stand up Who's going to? And if people are going to attack him, then everybody's a potential victim, because he is the king of the universe, and he is the one that stands to be damaged the most. So I will continue to speak. Yes, I am very, very angry right now, and I probably shouldn't have done the video while I'm this angry, but I tend to not to say what I believe, and I say it in a far more respectful manner. And I just want people to know that this is how I feel. I don't want to be polished. I want to be real. And I want to tell people this has nothing to do with the size of his channel. This has nothing to do with, who he is or how many views he gets, or, that people need to bring him down, or that there's any ulterior motive for what people do. It is simply because of how he has behaved, and how he is continuing to behave. He is continually, bolstering his position with patrons, because he, is having legal proceedings. Well, if this is legal proceedings, I'll walk to China with no shoes on, because seriously, it's the furthest thing I can think from legal action that I possibly know. Give us examples. Tell us. Show your patrons give them a genuine update. Where exactly is the case up to? Not that you're just taking action, that you're collecting evidence. Where's it up to? Who's received additional letters? Who has received additional correspondence, commencement notifications of proceedings in courts, etc., etc.? Give us examples. Put the evidence out there. I hereby give you, James Lloyd Evans, permission to publish a document without my viewing previously, with evidence demonstrating where, when, and what I said in a public forum that is defamatory towards you. Go right ahead. I have nothing to hide, because those who have nothing to hide nothing. Can you say that you are that person also, Lloyd?